Hi guys, I just wanted to do a quick video today with regards to the ensuite or no ensuite debate from a lettings and design and development point of view. So online, there's we always get a lot of new investors asking. Should they put en suites in their HMOs or have shared bathrooms? And the general advice that people give is to put en suites in every bedroom that you can. It's a general blanket statement that's put out there on the internet. I think from my personal point of view, as somebody who lets a lot of rooms and source and develop properties myself, is that actually general blanket statements can be quite dangerous, especially to new investors. Now you have to really understand what the advice being given is all about. Like generally, yes, en suites are okay, but they're not okay in every situation. And it's just not a good idea to make expensive, fundamental decisions on, general advice like that. Ultimately, it depends on what your goals as an investor are, and who you target, and as a result, who your target customers are. Based on that, you can decide if having an ensuite in your property or in your investment property will be a good idea. Now, generally speaking, there is a rent increase. There is a rent difference between an ensuite room and a non-ensuite room, but it's not as much as everybody claims it to be. It depends on the area, really. You really need to justify your costs when it comes to stuff like that, because to put an ensuite in would cost you about £2,500 to £3,000 per ensuite. That's plumbing, materials, labour, and everything. You'll get back between 20, in some worst cases, to 50, maybe more. But generally speaking, people will say you'll get £50 more for an ensuite room than a standard double room, but that's not always the case. A lot of the time you'll probably get about £20 to £40 more. Some properties where there's not a lot of ensuites and the room is big, then you'll get a bit more, and you'll also stand out from your competition. You've also got to be careful of the possible changes in council tax as well, because it's already happened in certain areas, and the city council could quite easily say, okay, we're going to charge any room with an ensuite in it its own council tax, and that's going to be expensive. That's crippling. It's really hard to come back from something like that. Now, so in terms of if you look at the figures and you look at in terms of an investment point of view, there's a massive difference between spending 60,000 renovating a property and spending 15,000 to renovate a property, and for the sake of if you can potentially spend 15 to 20,000 on a property and get just 20 or 40 or £50 less per room than you would on spending 60,000 for it. It again, it depends on the area and depends on what you want to do. So just don't automatically think I have to put an ensuite in each room, because that could easily double your renovation costs, and your returns sometimes can't be justified. The important thing is that if the room is modern, if it looks modern, and it looks spacious. You know, it has to feel spacious to the prospective tenant. That's ultimately what's going to that's what's going to attract them and get them to rent that room. You know, I've let modern double rooms for £420 in the same area that you can let the same room but with an ensuite for £450. You know, that's £30. Because what's happened is the ensuite itself has eaten into the space of that double room. And you know, the prospective tenants would just rather have the extra space sometimes. Again, it does depend on the area and what your competition is doing. You know, so the plus point, however, to having an ensuite is that generally speaking, there's less churn. So, which means basically people will stay longer in their rooms. So you know that the tenants will stay longer, and the rooms tend to let a bit faster, and you attract better tenants. Again, that's only in certain areas. Certain areas, it really won't make a difference. You know, you just have that churn regardless. So you know, when you're developing a property, you know, do take your time to really ask yourself what you want from your investment. You know, put a lot of thought into it, and don't just go with blanket statements. You know, best thing to do really is to befriend a local letting agent. You know, somebody who really knows their stuff. You know, who lets on a daily basis. You know, don't make it a take sort of relationship. You know, make sure you genuinely want to get along with them and think you can add value to that relationship, and just ask them, you know, what they think. You know, if you have plans, ask them maybe they just pop around, or if they don't have the time, just send them floor plans and say, oh, what do you think of it? You know, what do you think if I put ensuites here, and what do you think if I don't, or how would you work this layout? Because I am about to make a decision, and I'd really value you know, your sort of local knowledge on this. So that's probably the best way to go about it. Now, what I wanted to talk about today specifically were single en-suites, because I think that's where the real problem is. I actually met two investors yesterday. You know, one a veteran investor, and another is a really lovely couple who's relatively new to the HMO market. Now, it just happens that they both were going through the development stage of the HMO, and they both had one or two small ensuite rooms. You know, the veteran, for example, the veteran investor, his builder was adamant that he should have an ensuite in every room, even the single rooms. You know, I was quite happy to advise having an ensuite with a single room that's 6.5 meters square. You know, because people prefer ensuites. I mean, that's just really poor advice. You know, what happens when you want to open the door to your ensuite? You're just gonna hit the bed frame. You know, where would you put your chest of drawer? You know, where would you put your wardrobe? Okay, so and where would you put your feet when you get to bed? You know, and the thing about ensuite is that they would inevitably create a dead space in the corner, because, you know, generally speaking, the ensuite won't take the whole side of a bedroom, so there'll be a gap or a bit of a dead space in the corner. I mean, what are you going to put in that corner? You know, you can potentially put a wardrobe, but will it fit? And if you put a wardrobe there, then your room is going to look really small. And again, where you can put your chest of drawer after that. But majority of the time, it's just where you're going to put your bed. You know, you're going to open your bed. You're going to have to put your bed somewhere, and your ensuite door can only go in the middle, because you'll have your WC on the left or right, you know, one side, and you've got your sink, and then you've got your shower unit on the other side, and then that opens into the middle of the room. So it's going to really, most of the time, hit the bed if you're not careful. And you know, the rent for a room like that would be between £375 to £400 maximum a month. for a single ensuite room, you can, for that same room without the ensuite, you can get exactly the same rent. Because don't forget, the ensuite itself would take 2.5 meters square, normally around about 2.5 meters. If you add that back onto the room, you're going to get roughly, assuming it's a decent size single room or small double, 9-10 meters square. So that's a decent size double. You just get the same rent without spending £3,000. Now, luckily, it turns out that actually the measurement for that room for the veteran investor turned out to be about 8 or 8.2 or something meters square anyway. They actually have a living room, so they can go with that minimum room size. But they didn't actually know that at the time. They were actually measuring up at the time with the plan to go with the ensuite. So it could have been 6.5 meters square plus an ensuite. It could have been 7.5 meters squared with an ensuite. And when I'm taking viewings with people, with prospective tenants, they like the idea of an ensuite, but when they look at the space, it's the reality sinks in. It hits them thinking, well, actually, this isn't living. This is a prison cell with an ensuite. So then I went to meet the really nice couple. Really nice people are new to the HMO market. Their property is going to be amazing. I feel I've got a lot of confidence in what they're doing. They seem to have the right attitude, the right design, the right approach to everything. So providing they finish the product in the same way, it will look great. However, they followed general advice from the internet, and they underestimated, in my opinion, they underestimated how big the double beds are going to be, and these are 4-foot beds as well. They've underestimated the size, in my opinion, and I think they're gonna, once they put that in, they're going to have some challenges with where to put the other furniture, and the general layout of the room, and to do it in a way whereby you create a sense of space where the prospective tenants would feel that it's a spacious room rather than a cramped room, because that's what is really important. So I mean, it's just worrying when people just go with blanket statements like that from the internet. So back to the bed thing. When you open your door, you walk in, chances are you might hit your bed, and then you've got another door to think about, which is the ensuite door, and that already limits where you're going to put your furniture. So that sense of place is quite important, and you will feel cramped. Now, interestingly, both investors actually had off-suite options. In fact, the seasoned investor had one room with an off-suite anyway. So in my opinion, again, this is just my personal opinion, what they should have done was, for the other single ensuite room, that should have just been left as a double room, and then 2 people will share the off-suite room, so the off-suite room would therefore turn into a shared bathroom for 2 people. That would mean they've got 2 decent-sized rooms and 1 shared bathroom between 2 people. From my experience, from my lettings experience, people don't really mind sharing with one other person. Actually, it's just a very small mental nudge that they need. So a lot of time they'll say, they'll ask me, "Oh, I've got I'm looking for an ensuite," and I'll say, "Okay, well, actually, we've got this property that might, it's really nice weekend, it might really be suitable for you, but you're sharing the bathroom with one other person." Generally speaking, they'll say, "Oh, that's fine, as long as it's one other person, they can deal with that." So yeah, and obviously with the couple, I think they had an original, the existing bathroom, which they were going to turn into a utility room. Again, this is just my personal opinion, from a lettings point of view, was that they should keep that bathroom as it is, and just have the other 2 rooms as double rooms, as decent sized double rooms, or actually potentially large double rooms now. because they save 2.5 meters in both rooms, and just have a shared bathroom, which would potentially would have been a dead space anyway, because it would have just been turned into a utility room, and all the utility stuff they should bring downstairs back into the kitchen, because it's actually a really large kitchen with a communal space at the back. But anyway, so yeah, that was that's what I wanted to talk about. So it just to summarize, don't always go with ensuite. It depends on how your figures stack, and depends on your market and what you're trying to achieve. Definitely don't, if you can, avoid going for single ensuite. So that's single rooms, small rooms with an ensuite, because those definitely do not make sense. It's just much better to have a bathroom somewhere. If your layout can accommodate it, have a bathroom somewhere, and just have two decent sized double rooms rather than two small doubles or singles with ensuites. It just won't make sense. It will help for you to talk to a letting agent. Just befriend them. Don't make it a take sort of relationship. Befriend them, and just ask for their opinion. I'm always happy to help, and I'm sure they would too. Well, that's it. If anybody needs any lettings or management advice or services in the West Midlands area, just give us a call. All right, guys, take care. Bye.